Welcome to Discovering Africa Through Technology, the podcast series that showcases the brilliance of Africa's great minds, innovators, and experts as they tackle complex challenges with homegrown solutions driven by knowledge, technology, and innovation. Our podcast is inspired by the African Union Agenda 2063 Aspiration 7, which seeks to rebrand Africa and change negative narratives and perspectives through science, technology, and innovation. We believe that Africa has the power to solve its own development challenges and become a strong, united, resilient, peaceful, and influential global player and partner. Join us as we explore the transformative potential of technology in Africa with your host, Razia Kulatain Mwanga, and learn from the experts driving change on the African continent.
And today in the program, the global podcast that shines a spotlight on the power and the incredible work of researchers and innovators through Africa. I am Razia Kulatain Mwanga, accomplished journalist, gender activist, researcher, innovation enthusiast, and broadcaster. Before we start today, please don't forget to subscribe to this podcast so that you don't miss our future episodes. Today, I am privileged to be speaking to Ailís. Ailís is the community manager at eLife, the science publisher who aims to transform research, culture, and communication. A passionate supporter of open science and early career researchers across the globe. She talks about the importance of open access, research training, and supporting early career researchers on their journey as they are the future. She gives her thoughts on eLife's new publishing model and her passion for peer review. I started by asking Ailís how the Ambassadors Program started.
Great. Hi, Razia. It's absolutely wonderful to be here today. I am, as you said, the community manager at eLife, where I've been there nearly 2 years now. Prior to this, I actually worked a bit in communications of a science company. And before that, I actually did 2 small postdocs, and I did my Ph.D. based over in Australia, working on immunology. So I'm a scientist at heart. And unfortunately, I've seen and experienced a lot of the problems that researchers face nowadays. Unfortunately, academia and research has a lot of different issues. And the issues are different in different parts of the world, but there is some common issues like a lack of training for researchers, career development, there's issues with publishing, and now being a part of the publishing system, working in eLife, the science publisher, I really love focusing and chatting with researchers about how we can overcome these, what solutions we can bring forward. And that, drove me into getting involved with the ambassador program that we have.
That's quite interesting. I love the way you are very modest.
Oh, they're 2 small ones because I didn't stay long at them. Some people who do their postdocs, they last there for lots of years. So for me, I realized being in the lab wasn't working for me. But it's interesting because you never know when to leave science. You're always afraid that if you leave the lab, the doors will shut and you'll never be able to get back in. And I know a lot of researchers are afraid of that. So I tried out 2 different ones and realized, nope, I needed to make the jump out of the lab and into different parts of the science enterprise.
That's quite interesting. So with this new job that you are doing, it brings the best of you because you've been in the lab and you've worked on the field from immunology and then doing 2 postdoctorals. People do 1 and they are so adamant and shouting about it. And then now you've transitioned into another position. Can you tell us more about the eLife Ambassadors Program?
Yeah, no, thank you so much. And again, when you speak to all of the different researchers across the globe, you just realize how many incredible people there are who go through and they learn and they shift into different positions. And I think it is incredible that if we give researchers the training, they'll be able to push forward and do different careers and even do multiple careers at the same time. But yes, I was delighted to get the opportunity to join eLife. When I joined eLife, what was lovely is that they had already set up a communities team. The head of communities at the time, Cora Korzak, she was very passionate about the fact that to make change in research, we have to hear what the global community want. So the people in publishing, the people in organizations, they shouldn't be making the decisions about what is good for everyone without asking everyone across the globe what is actually good for them, particularly early career researchers, because as you've said, they are the future. They are who will make the next 10 years, 20 years. And what we've seen is that the Sustainable Development Goals, the SDGs, are very, we're aiming really high to reach them. And what we need is researchers working together, but also the next generation to push it forward. So Cora and the team set up the Ambassador Program. It was set up in 2018. And each year and a half that it goes through, they reassess and they figure out what worked, what didn't work, what is needed for the next generation, the next year of ambassadors coming through. So when I joined, what was nice was I could look back at the feedback that was given and create a new program for 2022, 2023. And that's what we did. So we decided that to do 6 months of training with the ambassadors and then 12 months of activism. So we wanted to get as many people on board as possible, but also to keep it a contained group, because if we had 1,000 people, it would be so difficult for me as a community manager to work with everyone. So we decided 120 people. It ended up being 128. And we had people from about 55 different countries. So researchers from all of the different continents and as many countries as we could fit in. And I think we had a 50-50 gender divide as well. Women, men, people who identify as non-binary. So it was a really nice, diverse group when we hit the ground running February 2023. And it was really interesting just to hear what people wanted. The trainings we planned were about open science. What is open science? What is reproducible science? How do you do research that is environmentally conscious? How do you write research papers? How do you review research papers? We focused in on mental health and well-being, there is a big crisis at the moment for researchers around the world. And after all of the training, a lot of the researchers broke into groups. And some groups were continental. So we have, say, the African Ambassador Group, who work together to write a paper on collaboration and are working together on more and more events and resources. But we also had groups who were passionate about things like mental health and well-being. And they cover lots of different countries. We have people in Mexico working with people in the US, working with people in Europe and Asia to push forward solutions for researchers from the ground up. But also some of them are working to get in touch with those who are in other positions, such as funders, policymakers, to drive forward changes that normally don't include researchers. So we cover a wide area of different topics, but everything is researcher-led. We're really looking forward to this cohort finishing off in August and hopefully mentoring the next cohort who will join in February 2024.
From 120 people to 128, and then you have a 50-50 gender divide, 6 months of training, and then after that there's activism so that people get to practice what they have learned. What was the main criteria? What criteria did you use to select these people?
Yeah, I think this is a really important point actually to touch on, is how can you make a diverse group of people, but also how do you select, when you have, I think we had 380 people apply. So how do we select from this wonderful group? So what we did is we made sure of the criteria that we really wanted in the group. So the criteria we wanted was every continent to be represented and to have at least 20 people from each continent. And then for each of those continental groups to be 50-50 representation of gender, and to include those who are underrepresented in gender as well. If people identified as having a disability or being neurodiverse, we really value those. So if someone did identify in those different areas, we also highlighted that as well. So in doing so, what we ended up having is answers. We asked everyone to write answers on their passions, about open science, what they would like to change. Those answers were marked out of 3 by independent people, independent staff members, and our early career advisory group. And then the answers that got the highest marks were put into the different continents, and those who got the highest marks were selected to join the program. But it meant that we could then select the best people from Africa, the best people from Asia, the best people from Europe, and yeah, having a 50-50 with the genders as well was really important to us.
Thank you, Ailís. So tell us, from February 2022 and now we are in June 2023, the training phase is done, and now we are doing the activism phase, and it's going to end in August. Going back from where we started, what are some of the outstanding success stories that have come out of the product?
Yeah, and there are so many, like there are so many incredible people. And I think one big thing to focus on is that we always put a big emphasis on outputs, so a paper or an event. But I think sometimes we don't, we're not conscious of how people have grown throughout the process, because there's no way of quantitatively measuring how much someone has grown. So first of all, what I've seen is people go from, not contributing too much to becoming really big leaders. They've gone on to pursue postdocs, they've gone on to pursue becoming leaders in their institutes. And I'm not saying that's because of the ambassador program, but you could see the confidence and different knowledge areas that grew as they were in the program, as they volunteered to host events, as they volunteered to do lots of different things. So I think one big thing is focusing on the things that we can't measure, that people really grew and developed. And I think they'll be amazing assets for science going forward. I hope they continue to help us with the program and touch back in and mentor the new people coming through. But on the topic of outputs, we have, what I was saying about the African ambassadors, creating this 10-step guide on how to do successful collaboration with African researchers. And that being pushed forward now into enabling researchers around the globe to collaborate together. Creating those webinars, events, and resources is an amazing success story, I think. We have our Latin American ambassadors who organized a preprint event, a 2-day-long preprint event, where they got, I think, nearly 200 people signed up to join in and talk about the future of science, about preprints. The same event is going to be hosted in Asia by one of our ambassadors in September. So that will cover the Asia Pacific. So we have hopefully Japan, Korea, Hong Kong, all the way down to Thailand and Malaysia. So we're hoping that we'll have as big a attendee list there. So kind of these beautiful events that were popping up all around the world to discuss what researchers want the way forward to look like. We had ambassadors who set up the Global Science Policy Network, where they are still working on it, but figuring out how they can put researchers in touch with politicians and people who are involved in policy making, so that researchers can help make the policies that affect science, but also guide policies through scientific discovery as well. So a lot of the different initiatives that are at really early stages, where they've just formed, the governance or the way the structure will go forward. But I think these are really important, because when more people join, these will hopefully grow and become different initiatives that will help researchers not just do their research, but also help the outer world as well.
Amazing again. I love the initiatives that have been done throughout the program. And when listening to you, I can see that you are being flared. I can see the passion of, it's like when you do something and you see that it is working. So I love what the Latin America people are doing about preprints. I also love the idea of a global science policy and how research can impact on policy and also on development issues, and also how to collaborate research. These are quite interesting ideas, because like when you talked about starting this fellowship, you said there were all those things, but you wanted to know how people work, how the global community thinks and wants to do. And all these topics that you've touched are things that are close to heart, and there are problems and challenges that face every researcher. So as we are nearing towards the end of the fellowship, looking back, what lessons have you learned from the program, and what will you take to the next fellowship?
So many lessons. I think one big lesson is we're all virtual. So we're always online, and trying to understand how can we make that better for people. People are sick of being on their computers all the time. So when we organize events, is there a way that we can make it where it's much more engaging for people, that we get them maybe to stand up, get them to, pick out different things and really engage? I think one big thing to focus on for next time is enabling ambassadors to meet between themselves, that there's just open meetings that they can pop into, on 9 a.m. on a Friday or different times, so that they can just always hop on and there'll be someone there to chat to. I think for next time as well, maybe focusing on having a train the trainer model, where we enable each of the ambassadors to train more people. So maybe training them in community management, which obviously I'm passionate about, as it's my role. But I just think we can give more tools to the researchers so that they can go off and make more things. Even when the program ends, that they will have those skill sets to be able to make what they think is the solution. And yeah, to maybe bring in some new parts of our eLife new publishing model. So next year, I think we'll have a year already of our new model, which focuses on preprints being reviewed and these reviews being open for everyone to see. So it'd be really nice to hear the input of the ambassadors in our new submission and new publishing process, things that we could change, things that work better in different countries, and also focusing in on translations, because I think for far too long we've been focused on English only in science. And I think we can all agree that the world would be a much better place if we could all speak in our mother tongues and communicate in our mother tongues, and be able to bring that into science a lot more.
Thank you, Ailís. And just to close this, what is your ask? What would you tell them about the program? Is it for the faint-hearted, or what is this program for? And what is the value addition as to why they should come on board and become the next cohort of the next generation of young researchers?
Yeah, well, I think the biggest thing is that you are the person. I think I'd like everyone to know that when people think, oh, I'm not good enough, or I'm not skilled enough, or maybe someone else will be better, they'll look at someone in their lab and say, oh, that person would be a better ambassador. I think I'd love to say to those people that they should be the ambassador, because representation really matters. And again, in science, for far too long, representation has not included everyone. So if you don't see yourself in the science sphere when you look at webinars and different things, I think you need to be that ambassador. If you have ideas for change, if you're frustrated in science, if there's barriers, you have ideas for changing things, no matter how crazy the ideas might seem, I'd say you're the perfect person for the ambassador program. And I think in working together, we can definitely make change. So if you're not in, then we can't hear these ideas. We can't act as a bridge to your community. So yeah, I'd recommend everyone apply.
Wow, thank you so much, Ailís, for your enlightening conversation. It has been nice talking to you. I love that this program is inclusive and it includes all the continents. I love the way you've been very meticulous in trying to make sure that everybody gets into this program. So for those who will be selected for the next cohort, or those who are thinking of applying, they should not be scared, because every continent will be represented. Like in the last cohort, you had 20 people from each continent, and you are looking at those biases that make people not get into these programs, and you've made sure that you've ticked all the boxes. You've considered women, people who are disadvantaged, people with disability. So this is really a good program. I have been a part of this program and I have enjoyed a lot, and I have learned about so much in this program that has really changed and transformed my life on the way I see, and the way I see research and the way research is done. So I would like to encourage people who are listening to this program that this is really a good project. This is really a good thing, that if you are thinking of applying, please apply. It is not very demanding. As you've seen Ailís, she's very accommodating, she's very helpful, and you will learn a lot. If you are thinking of doing research, or not even doing research, but learning more about research, this is the place you should be. So my thanks again to my guest, Ailís. And in the next episode, we shall be looking at these different groups and the different initiatives that were done in the eLife Ambassador Program. I would like to thank my team for all the support that they've given us to make this happen, and especially Ailís, who has been very instrumental in this program. Thank you so much for the great work we are doing in eLife in impacting the next generation of researchers in Africa and in the continent. And until next time, it is me, Razia Mwanga. Thank you. And don't forget to subscribe to our podcast. Until next time, thank you. Bye-bye.